Do you really want to know if you're actually growing in wisdom or you're just getting older? Because make no mistakes about it, age doesn't equal maturity. Most people think that they are mature until they get tested by these four things. And I make bold to say how you respond to these four secret tests will determine the real state of your maturity. By the end of this video, you will know exactly where you stand, and I promise you that you walk away with a clarity that can change your growth and maturity. But the question is, will you accept and face the truth that you will learn from the secret in this video? Let's stick to the end and see. Let's dive right in. The real test of maturity comes out, right, when we experience the unexpected of life. You know, there's the expected and the unexpected. When we plan and anticipate things, right, we'll probably know how to act, because when you're anticipating something, you already know your response towards it. But the real test of maturity comes from our response to the unexpected, that which you could not foresee, that which you did not know. How do you respond to it? That tells if you're mature. That shows the real test of maturity. So yeah, the four silent tests of life that will reveal your maturity. Number one is how you respond to failure and chaos. What is your first approach when you fail? What's your response when you fail? When things don't go as planned, when things don't go as expected, what do you do in those moments of failure, right? It tells the level of your maturity. Let's say you suddenly got sacked from your job. What is your response to it? Do you feel like, oh my God, my life is over? Or do you feel like, wow, I'm about to step into an unknown phase of my life, but I am confident in my abilities and I'm confident in my skill? How do you respond to failure? It's key, because our response to failure and chaos tells if we're mature or not. The immature conclude. When they fail, they conclude. When they fail, they say this is the end. When they get to a roadblock, they say, that's the end. This is all there is. But no, the mature ones don't end when there's a failure. What mature people do is that they ask questions. What am I missing that I need to know? Because the truth about it is that failure is not the conclusion. Failure is not an end. It is an information. And what does failure inform you? It informs you that there's something you do not know that you need to know. Failure is a notification. It reminds you that there's something you're missing. There's something you don't know that you need to know. And so immature people see failure as an identity, as they are the failure. They are failures. Whereas mature people see failure as a lesson, and then they get to ask questions. But immature people draw conclusions. While mature people ask questions, they say, what am I missing? What is it that I'm not seeing that I need to see to enable me move? Because they know that failure is not the end. It is only a lesson. Because failure is inevitable. There's nothing great you will ever do in this life that you will not experience failure. You will definitely experience failure. So failure is inevitable. But how you respond to it is what matters. So you know you're mature when you view failure as a lesson, not the end. And so it brings me to the second test, which even most successful people suffer from, because the second test will shake you out of your comfort zone. And that second test is how you respond to change. How do you respond to change? It tells a lot about your maturity. You know, a lot of people say this, right? And it's so striking, because everybody say the only thing that is constant is change. But then again, when we are faced with change, our reaction is totally different. Humans dread what is unknown, and change is unknown because you don't know what you're about to experience. So, how do you respond when things change? There's always two steps of action when you're confronted with change. It is either you fight against it or you embrace it. Immature people are threatened by change. Why are they threatened by change? Because change will always take you out of your comfort zone. It will always take you out of the known into the unknown. So that means it always take you out of what you know. What once worked no longer works. And so when what once worked no longer works, what happens is that we become scared, we become frightened, because it takes you out of your comfort zone. Like right now, the rise of AI, your office came up with maybe a new policy that every staff need to know how to use AI. And then what's your first response to it? I can't do, I'm old, when do I start learning? How do I start going online? This internet thing, is not my kind of thing. How do you respond to change? How you respond to change determine the level of your growth. It will determine the level of your maturity. And that was one of the things that crippled the Israelites. They could not adapt to change. They were freed, but they were still slaves in their minds. Why? Because they were not used to change. They did not want to change. They did not want to change their routine. They knew Pharaoh was going to give them food. They knew Pharaoh was going to take care of them. They were frightened by the idea of change, by the fact that they had to cater for themselves. They had to provide for themselves, which they were actually providing for themselves. God was providing for them. But they were frightened by the idea of change. And that's the problem with most people today, right? Whenever we're confronted by change, we become frightened. Oh, so I have to learn. Yes, you have to learn. Oh, so I have to change my way of doing things. Yes, you have to change your way of doing things. Unless you want to remain where you are. And so we must learn, right? To embrace change, to adapt with change. And these next steps, which is the number 3 step, is things the ego of everyone, of every person. Can you take a wild guess what that is? The next test that shows the level of your maturity is how you respond to criticism. Some of you knew that this was coming, right? How do you respond to criticism? When people call out your wrong, they call out your flaws, how do you respond? If your first approach is defensive, forget it, you're immature. I'm sorry, I'm being very straightforward. But if your first approach to criticism is defense, you're immature. I know it's not easy, Josh. I know it's not easy. Let me give you a real story, right? While I was in Kaduna, right, most of the people that knew me in Kaduna, they're people that knew me, they knew my values, they knew what I stood for, they respected me. And so I didn't really get a lot of criticism, right? Because they knew me, they respected me. So I used to think that I've handled the issue of criticism, I could handle criticism because some people still criticized me though. But I didn't know that what they were doing were a lot of constructive criticism so as not to, because they respected me and they held me in high esteem. Not until I moved. And when I moved to my new location, I was among people that did not know me, they did not care who are you. That was their concern. If there's a problem, they brought it straight up. Bro, hey, that was when I realized that I did not know how to handle criticism. I thought I'd know how to handle criticism until I met people that did not know me. They did not know whatever, where I was coming from. They did not know, nobody cared. And so they will give it to you straight up. Straight up. That's when I realized that I had an issue handling criticism. I kid you not. It wasn't easy, but I had to learn. I had to bring myself to a point where I was able to filter between the tone and the truth. Because your maturity will be tested in the place of criticism. Are you able to filter between the tone and the truth? Are you able to filter between the insult and the correction to know that this thing is not an insult on your personality? It is feedback. I didn't know I was not able to handle criticism, but I had to learn. And truly, believe you me, it wasn't easy, but I did. And I'm still doing, right? I'm still doing. I'm still doing. I hope that in the future something will not come that make me realize that what this I've learned, I've not learned. But honestly, I know that I've improved greatly. So how do you respond to criticism? Do you go all defensive, or some people don't even go all defensive, they just shut down? The moment you criticize them, silence. You're never going to hear from them. They are gone. And so criticism it's going to bruise your ego. It will to do that on your ego. But how do you respond? That shows how mature you are. Because people are going to criticize you. Who are you that they will not criticize you? Even Jesus was criticized. Our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, he was criticized. He was criticized by the Pharisees. He was criticized by the people. So you will be criticized. As long as you want to do something of impact, something of influence, something of change, you will definitely be criticized because the spotlight is on you. And when the spotlight is on you, people can see your flaws. They can see that there's a dent on your face. They can see that there's a pimple that's about to pop. And so they will tell you. So how do you react to them telling you? They might not say in the best possible way. Whether it's constructive or not, your ability to handle criticism will determine how far you will go and how far you will grow. So how do you handle criticism? It shows your level of maturity. And then it brings me to the last and hardest point, which humbles even great leaders, even up until today. And that is how you handle misunderstanding. How do you handle misunderstanding? What's your reaction when people misunderstand you? No matter the goodness of your intention, no matter the nobility of the cause you're driving for, people will always misunderstand you. Never forget that. What do? The immature, they try to fight every misunderstanding and they try to explain themselves. But maturity is knowing when to speak and when to be quiet. I know it's very difficult for a lot of people, but maturity is knowing when to speak. The Bible said in the book of Proverbs that even a foolish man, if he should keep quiet, if he should hold his peace, if he should hold his voice, the Bible says he will be esteemed a man of wisdom and understanding. He's foolish, but for the fact that so many things have been said and he's able to be quiet, everybody's going to esteem him as a man of wisdom and understanding, not until he opens his mouth. So maturity is knowing that you are definitely going to be misunderstood, no matter how noble or good your cause is. But how do you react to it? Jesus was carrying that cross on his way to Golgotha. People were speaking, oh, if you're the king of the Jews, oh, why didn't you not save yourself now? Oh, I thought you said you are divine. I thought you said you are from heaven. Why don't you save yourself right now? Why are you going to the cross? Why are you going to die? I thought you are from the eternal one. You're the eternal one. You even claimed to be God. Why can't you save yourself? If some of you didn't know what you do, hey, is it me you're talking to? Is it me you're talking to? Okay, you disappear. Then you appear in the other place and they'll see your power. No, Jesus didn't do that. Fun fact, he didn't even respond. He didn't even answer them. Maturity is knowing to speak. See, Jesus is just so amazing because he was in the temple, right? Calling the Pharisees' name. Oh, you hypocrite. Oh, you viper. Oh, you this, and that. That was the time for that. That was the time to antagonize them. He antagonized them. When it was time for him to take up the cross, he took up the cross and he kept quiet. And then everybody was feeling like, why is this guy? Not until when he died. And then the soldiers that were there said, wow, oh, indeed, this was the Son of God. See, maturity is knowing when to speak and when to be quiet. If Jesus could be misunderstood, people are definitely going to misunderstand you. But how you respond to their misunderstanding is what will determine if you're mature. And so you must learn to know when to speak and when to hold your peace. To know if these people are worth your words or if silence is the best thing for them. But the beautiful thing you need to know is that, like I said, maturity is not a one-time thing, right? It is a process. It is a journey. We grow by responding to it, taking advantage of it. So how do you respond when you're criticized? How do you respond when you're faced with chaos and failure? How do you respond when people misunderstand you? How do you respond when change comes? I know from this video, you've been able to look at yourself and say that, this part of my life, I need to work on this. Yeah. Tests and trials are there. Challenges are there for you to work on yourself. Grow through those difficult times, through those challenges, through those uncertainties. That is how you come out being mature. That is how you come out being more wiser. And that is how you come out having more wisdom and experience for the glorious life. Okay? I hope this resonates with you. And I hope this makes a lot of sense with you. I'm also curious to know, what area of this test are you facing difficulties in? I would love to know from you in the comment section. Thank you for watching this video. And if you found value in this video, please ensure you subscribe so that you get notified when I drop a new video. Thank you so much for your time. This is Josh, and I'm out.